and welcome back to the Dream Life Bloating podcast, season 2, episode 13. I'm your co-host, Skye.
And I'm your co-host, Susan. How are you today, Skye?
I am good. It is January 2nd, 2024, as we record this, which is so crazy. I feel like December flew by, and I just can't believe we're already in January, but then, I'm actually so excited for the new year, and we are such, goal-setting, fresh start girlies, so I know we're both, super excited for the new year and just very motivated to just make it a great year. So I'm feeling very I feel like you always start the new year on track, but I think we really talked a lot in December about setting ourselves up for success so we could already have routines and habits going for the new year. So I feel like I'm in my routine, starting good habits and just feeling very refreshed. How are you?
I'm good. I am excited because 2024 is going to be the biggest year for us for so many reasons. And I'm just optimistic and very excited to go into this new year. There's so many things.
I know. I don't even, so obviously from the title, people are going to know, but I don't even know how you want to do this.
Do we want to do a Q&A type deal? Do you want to ask me the questions?
Yes, that's great. I was wondering how do you just want to say it? Do you just want to go out and say it?
Yeah, I'm going to have a baby in 2024.
That is
So
insane.
yeah, it's wild. So if you guys haven't seen TikTok or anything, I am pregnant, which is wild. I still say it out loud.
Three and
What?
a half months?
Yeah, so I'll be 14 weeks on Friday.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
almost the second trimester, which is so
My
weird.
God.
Yeah,
God, I feel like it flew by.
yeah,
I
it did.
where do you want to start? How much information do you want to
Let's
share?
just start at the beginning. It's the DLL team. We are going to share it all. Going to give all the tea.
All right, I want to know. Let's start the second you knew, or the second you. I guess I'm gonna try and ask these questions from a point of view of someone who doesn't know. So I want to
Okay.
know, before you even took a test, I know you were having a lot of you felt off, and even if you go back and listen to episodes in late September, early October, you were like, I'm not feeling myself, blah blah blah, and it was like, now we know why.
No, yeah, literally.
So I
Um,
want to know those feelings, and we'll just timeline it.
yes. So Chris and I have factor Five Leiden, which is a blood disorder, which is just genetic, and I could throw a blood clot. But I don't have blood clots. I'm not on medicine for it, but I have a more likelihood of doing so. So I went to my doctor. I was like, listen, we're talking about wanting kids. Is this going to be an issue? Do I need to be doing anything? And she looked into my labs and she's like, nope, you're totally set. If you want to start trying, you can. So we are like, all right. So it was just an open conversation in our house. And it actually turns out that we got pregnant that day that we left the doctor's appointment, which is so funny.
It's actually hilarious because you were
That
just thinking about it, whatever, but you are such a universe driven person. The second you put that thought out, and obviously this wasn't this was a very well thought out decision, but the second you actually went to the doctor and had that conversation out loud with someone other than you and Chris, universe was
yeah,
like, okay, it's go time.
it's so me too because I'm such an overachiever. It would be
Yes.
the day.
You would
It was
be
very on. It was on brand for us. So I think half of me feeling out of sorts was okay, this could be happening, it could not be happening. What is just going on? And I think especially if you are trying, you're hyper aware of everything that's going into in your body. And I've always been very in tune with myself. So I think it was just a heightened emotion of everything. But I'd say probably 2 or 3 weeks after that, I was just I feel like I'm having a mental breakdown. I was like, I'm either pregnant or I'm literally having a mental breakdown and I need to be seen by someone because I just felt like my emotions were up and down, but not. Honestly, it was kind of PMS-y,
Yeah.
very much high highs, low lows, and just kind of numb in between. That was wild. But it was just I knew something felt off. My weirdest symptom that now looking back, it was like, oh, that's what that was. For about 4 or 5 days, I got bloody noses, like constantly. And
Interesting.
they were like gushing out of my face. And I've never had a bloody nose except for like getting hit in the face. Like I've never, like in elementary school, I remember there were kids that consistently got bloody noses for whatever reason. I was not one of those kids. So I was like, okay, maybe I have a brain tumor that's like leaking, like worst case scenario. But we also have a wood stove, and I was like, it must just be really dry in here. So I went out and I bought like a $200 humidifier that was big enough to make my entire house moist. And turns out that I didn't well, it's good to have, but we didn't need that because
So
it was just my estrogen rising.
is that a symptom? Like it actually does check
Yeah.
out?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
God,
that one was really
things
bizarre.
that you don't even like think about as being like part of this.
Yeah, just very, very strange.
Wow.
I know I wrote down all of my stuff because looking back now, I'm like, I don't really remember anything else other than the bloody
Yeah.
noses. Um,
You about 2 weeks now looking back, 2 weeks after you actually did get pregnant was when you started feeling those symptoms. That feels
yeah,
really early.
yeah. We technically found out like we were 3 weeks and something. Like it's wild that a test even picked it up.
It is.
Um, so I did. I wrote my 5 week symptoms down in my pregnancy journal. My boobs hurt so bad. I was bloated. I had wicked bad cramps. And I remember that it was a Monday and I looked at Chris. I'm like, I'm getting my period. Like I have such the worst cramps. And it did not. It just was stuck up in there, I guess. Super smell. Chris opened the dog food and I
Mhm.
was like, I was sitting on the couch and I was like, that stinks. And he was like,
Oh,
it smells the same as anything. I can't believe you can smell that from here. That was when Chris was like, I think you're pregnant. The nosebleeds, I had wicked, wicked, vivid dreams, which I dream a lot anyways. But usually my dreams, I can kind of differentiate when I'm just dreaming versus like, oh, I need to pay attention. This is more intuitive. And these were just like wild, vivid dreams that I was not used to. And I wasn't sleeping through the night. I have usually pre pregnancy, I have no issue sleeping, like fall asleep, do not wake up till the morning. And I was tossing and turning all night long, not thinking about any particular thing, but I just could not sleep a full night.
yeah.
Um, Crying a lot. And this was the weirdest thing. And this was kind of the like telltale. Chris was like, you should take a test. I was craving McDonald's chicken nuggets. I've never been a chicken nugget girl. I am a Big Mac girl. And that was so bizarre. Like I literally needed chicken nuggets every single day. And it was like, I'm like, this is disgusting. Like, why do I want to eat these? And Chris ordered me chicken nuggets. One of the first times he ordered me chicken nuggets. I'm like, I can't fault the man. I'd never really ordered chicken nuggets before. And they asked what sauce, and he said none. And I cried. And I was like, you've known me for 7 years. I want sweet and sour sauce. So that also was one of those like, oh, this is very out of character for her.
How soon after that did you finally take a test?
Monday was when I had cramps and I was like, I'm gonna get my period. I was taking tests almost every day because I was like, I'm convinced that there's something going on with me. Um, and technically I should have gotten my period that Monday, but my periods can be off by 10 days, give or take. So I found out Wednesday. I got a faint mind, but I was like, in my head, I was like, it's a faint mind, like it could be gone tomorrow, which is not how that works. I mean, it could, but also no, like a faint mind is a yes, which I did not know at the time. And then I was gonna wait and take another test the next day, which I did end up taking a test the next day. And then that one was very bold and was like very positive.
It's crazy. What was
Yeah.
your first reaction like? Do you remember like the second you saw that line?
Well, I didn't know if it was there or not. I was still convinced I might be having a psychiatric break. So I was like, is it there or am I imagining this? Like, is this real? So when Chris looked at it, I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a line there. And he was like, no, there's a line there. Like, you're not crazy, Susan. Like, there's a line. So that was really exciting.
So you didn't really, I know some women will like go and like find a way to like show the test to their husband, whatever. Like Chris was in, like, as like a congratulations, we're pregnant sort of thing. Like Chris was in this with you from the beginning.
No, Chris ruined his surprise.
No.
Yes. So I had bought a onesie like probably the week before because I was like, eventually I'll need it. And I hid it in my closet. And I was like, I'm going to tell him, like, I'll put it out with a test whenever I have a test. And so that was my plan. It was a Wednesday, so I had to go in office. So it was fine. I got up at 4, took the test, was like, there's a faint line, like maybe I still was not convinced that I was pregnant. I was like, maybe I'm pregnant.
Yep.
Went to the gym, normal, came home, got ready, which was nice. I didn't have to like, no offense, Chris, but I didn't have to sit and talk to him and like not tell him. So I got ready for work and then I had all my bags. I was walking out the door and he was like, wait, I like come see this fire I built. He had like built a fire in the fireplace because it was one of the first cold days of the year. And so like, okay, so I put all my stuff down. I walk over and he's like, so did you get your period? And I was like, no. He's like, so did you take a test? And I was like, yeah. He was like, so it must be negative. And I was like, I couldn't lie to him because I didn't want to say no, but I also didn't want to tell him that way because the man's standing in his underwear. Like, thought there'd be a little, like, I wanted to get a reaction video, like something. And he's like, so I said, do you want to know? Because that's what my mom would always say. Like when she had something that I might not like the answer of, she'd be like, do you want to know? So I was like, do you want to know? And he was like, well, is there something to know? And I said, do you want to know? And he was like, no, yes, no, yes, yes, I want to know. And I was like, there was a faint line. And he was like, no, there wasn't. And I was like, yes, there was. You didn't see it. Like, you want to argue with me? And he was like, no way. And I was like, yes. So we go upstairs, and I pull out the 3 tests, and they have like very, very faint lines. And he's like, no, they're there. Like, they're there. I see it with my eyes. And then he proceeded to do a dance, which I don't know if we can say this on Spotify. He was shaking his hips and very proud that
in a very, because I know what he said. Say it in a very like PG where people, if they want to be able to infer what Chris said, they're going to be able to infer what Chris said.
He was very excited that his man parts worked. And that was how Chris found out in his underwear.
I can't believe I've never heard a story where the man asks. I've never heard that before.
Yep, he was very we can't keep secrets from each other. Like it's a miracle we got to give each other Christmas gifts this year because we always end up early.
Chris, honestly, like, I mean, Chris has you've wanted this, obviously. Obviously. Chris has
right.
This. Like Chris.
Yeah. Chris has been ready much longer than I have.
Yes.
And it was 100% on my timeline. Like it has always been, he's like, I'm older. This is on you. Like this is obviously it's gonna change both of our lives. He was like, but this affects you initially way more in the first couple years of the child's life. Like this is when you're ready, like just let me know. And it has never been a pressureful thing, which I think is a huge, like, I don't know, it just speaks volumes to our relationship. It's very nice that I never felt pressured. We never, like, we maybe have fought over it once and it wasn't even, it was like, it was the heat of a moment. And then he came back and was like, I was wrong. And it was like, hey.
Because I remember that argument, you told me about it. And it wasn't even an argument of like, I want this, you don't, but it was more like you were frustrated about other things. And that was like the easy common ground to just bicker over.
Exactly. It wasn't even, and at that time, it wasn't even like, yes, we had been talking like one day, but it wasn't something, it wasn't like I had said, yeah, let's do this. And then like 3 weeks later and like, nah,
yes.
Like, it wasn't a situation like that. So, but I think just having clear communication from the get-go.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you tell your family?
My mom stopped over that day and she got what Chris was supposed to get. So she got the onesie with the test. And then for his parents, I made a bandana for Maggie that said guard dog duty starting. At that point, we thought we were doing June. So June 2024. And then my dad, I was going to just get him a mug or something that said grandpa. And I went to every store in this town. They were sold out of anything that said grandpa. So he got a happy birthday grandpa card and I crossed out happy birthday and it said baby Ash do. But it was like one of those things where the other three parents knew that day. So like I had to tell him and I wanted to give him something, not just be like, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant, like that didn't fun. So
That is the small town family all lives near each other.
yeah.
Yep, that was,
And then we FaceTimed all of our friends. We only told two friends in person. Everyone else, it was a FaceTime,
yeah, makes
whether
sense.
they lived here or not.
Get it out there. I,
Yeah.
I I remember you were so funny because you texted me and you were like, "Hey, like, can we have a DLL meeting?" And I don't even remember what had happened, but I was like, "I don't have time today. Like, sorry. Like, can we do tomorrow?" And you were
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, no problem." And then it was like it got pushed again because I remember it wasn't until the following Monday.
Yeah.
You were like, "Can you meet today? Can you meet?"
And
And
I like didn't talk to you all weekend
right,
because I was like, I can't talk to her
yeah.
without telling her this.
And we were supposed to record the podcast, so I thought nothing of it. It was like, we'll hop on a Zoom call,
Yeah.
like for the podcast, whatever. And I I knew that I didn't know you were actively trying. So it was like,
Yeah.
and I'm sure a lot of people were in the same boat. It was like, we know this is coming, but it was like,
Well,
I
yeah, we literally tried for like it was 3 weeks before that we had made the decision that, and it's one of those things that you don't
tell
really
people.
run around. Right. And it's one of those things you don't really run around being like, oh, by the way, we're trying. Like,
Oh,
so weird. So like maybe if that's what you did, like awesome. I'm just not that chill. Like I'm a little bit more uncomfortable, I guess.
I don't even think it's uncomfortable. I think there's things that we can go into this too because I'm actually very interested that I think as you like obviously you and Chris are your family unit and now you are expanding that family unit and you kind of have to set like you're both coming from two families where you have different expectations and boundaries and traditions that you've brought into now your family unit. And now
Yeah.
with the child, you're going to have to set your own traditions and like what you're comfortable with. And I think this is just part of that journey. And it was like some people, if they had been trying for a year or whatever, maybe they then choose to share that with friends and family because they're like, we've been
Yeah.
having difficulties, whatever, we're choosing to do this. But for you guys, you made the decision to first of all you chose to share this like I think friends and family like I was very flattered that you chose to share this with
Yeah.
me as early on and I think like that's you and Chris are setting these new traditions like this is there's no right or wrong like you could have said nothing to anybody until you announced it on Instagram if that's what you wanted to do like
Right.
there's no right or wrong way to do this so I think it's just interesting hearing what you guys have chosen to
Yeah.
share not choosing to share and like what you're what conversations you continue to have to say like this is what we want to do with our kid this isn't what we want to do with our kid like you get to decide like which is so
Yeah.
exciting.
Absolutely. And I think, well, when we went to set up for the podcast, I always record the podcast on my phone because for some reason, if I use my computer, it doesn't work. I was like hoping for a Hail Mary. I put all the stuff on my computer and I had my phone set up behind my chair so Skye couldn't see it, but it was recording her reaction. And so I'm trying to talk to her and she's like, I can't hear you. What? I can't hear you. And I was like, fuck. So we had to switch it around, and so then it ended up. I was like, I can't get um the Zoom to work on my phone either, which that actually was a mistake. So I was like, just FaceTime me, and so I screen recorded the FaceTime, and that's how
And
I
you just
told you.
showed the test like it was like pure shock like my
Yeah,
reaction was complete like so genuine shock
yeah, you're.
so excitement like so like I was like oh my god no way like
Yeah.
this is amazing.
And I was the most not nervous isn't the right word, but I was like the most yeah, I guess anxious is the right word. I was the most anxious to tell you because I was like, this affects her, but it affects you more than it affects my other friends because we do
Sure.
business.
Right.
Like,
And I think I've always, obviously, I'm so supportive of what anybody chooses to do with their lives, but I've never been very pro, like, I don't like babies, like that's never been my
yeah,
thing. Like, I'm never the friend that's like, show me your baby, this and this. Like, your child's going to be different. And I think as we grow up and like our friends that are considered family, when they have
yeah,
kids, it's like, okay, because even the little girl on the hockey team now,
yeah,
she's fantastic, but it's like I see her all the time, like she's becoming family, you know? So it's just
Yeah.
interesting how your opinions and dynamics change as like you grow up and get to know like these different little kiddos and whatever. But I've before like you especially, like I've never really been like, oh my God, tell me about your pregnancy, tell me about your child.
Yeah.
So I can see it being a little scary. Like I could have been like, why? Why are you doing
The-
this?
Yes.
But no, it's so exciting. So on TikTok, I saw this the other day. You posted a very raw video and it made me so sad because it was just you bawling, like literally crying over nothing. But I think it's so important to share. Like we've talked so much about like the very, very, very exciting like
Yes.
pieces of this, and there's going to be more of those. But I want to hear the not so like for anyone listening that's either like trying to get pregnant, is a mother, whatever, father, whatever. Like I want to hear like the truth, like the parts that are hard because I'm sure this isn't.
Yeah. My quote of the day, this kind of fits in with this. So my quote of the day was, motherhood is learning about strengths you didn't even know you had. And pregnancy, although I've only been doing it for 13 weeks now, is hands down the hardest thing I've ever done. And it challenges you mentally, physically, emotionally, and you just kind of like, it almost felt like overnight my identity self imploded. And it's like, okay, who am I, first of all? And then what am I trying to do? Because for me, I wasn't puking, but I was very nauseous. And it was like nearly impossible for me to just function because I just felt so crappy all the time. And I didn't realize how good I felt before. And so that is both physical and mental. But then I don't know, we haven't talked about this. I herniated a disc in my back
We did,
and
but when we talked about this on the podcast, we were both very careful not to say anything
not say,
because
okay.
you hadn't announced the pregnancy yet, because the two kind of
Yes.
go hand in hand.
Yes. So I herniated my disc in the beginning of November. So I was maybe 4 weeks pregnant, not very far along. And for those of you who don't know, and maybe it's different doctor, I can't take anything except Tylenol. And the
Being pregnant.
being pregnant, the first 2 times I took Tylenol, I had bleeding, and that freaked me out. Like, rushed the doctor, the whole 9 yards. And so I was like, I'm not taking Tylenol. Like, I'm not taking anything. I'm just gonna tough this out. Except the pain was getting to the point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I also got a cold in the beginning of December, and that was rugged without ibuprofen. Holy smokes. I miss ibuprofen more than I miss alcohol. What I would do for just, 600 milligrams of ibuprofen.
I get I guess I didn't
Um,
know all the things you're not allowed to like obviously I knew like don't
yeah,
eat raw fish, don't deli meat, like those like very common things,
yeah,
but I didn't know a lot of like what you're everything you tell me. I'm like, wow, this is like I'm learning so
yeah.
much.
So we got the herniated disc back in place 2 weeks ago. Yeah, the day after Christmas, I was like, okay, it feels aligned, like I feel good. And then I'm still having severe pain. So now I'm seeing a chiropractor and I'm in PT. And I don't even know if I told you this yet, but at physical therapy on Thursday, I was like, I'm not in a rush, but when can I get back to the gym? Like I would like to be building strength, like that's huge. You guys know my 4 a.m. morning routine, like that's big part of my identity. And he goes, you're not going back to the gym till after you have the baby. And I was like, okay. Said I kept it together. Actually, I don't think I've cried over this yet. But I was like, all right, like I can stick it out 6 more months. Like it'll be more than 6 months because then you need 6 months of recovery. So 7, 8 months. Oh, August. Um, I was like, okay, like, all right, but that is hard for me.
Yeah.
Like I've already been out of the gym for almost 2 months now. And it's just like that, especially working from home, like that's when I socialized. Like that was kind of my social hour. And I've always been like since I was in high school, like early morning workouts that just sets it for my productivity, my mental health, like all the things.
And I think
So
especially now being pregnant, you don't want to. I mean, I'm sure you're still going and eating dinners out, whatever, but I think the atmosphere I would assume changes when like
Yeah.
you don't want to be out super late because one, you're not drinking, two, you're tired, and three, like you're carrying a child. Like your priorities are changing. So
Yeah.
you're
I
losing.
also can't sit in a chair at a restaurant for very long because my back hurts so bad. We had my friend's birthday in like mid-December, and we went out and we went to total 3 restaurants. By the end of the second restaurant, I was like, guys, like, I can't do this. Like, I'm in so much pain. So I ended up dropping. They wanted to go to this other place. Thank God my in-laws literally live behind that restaurant. So I dropped them off and I was like, I'm sorry, I'll come back. I went to my in-laws' house and I laid on their floor and I fucking cried for an hour because I was in so much pain. And it's like, it's being in pain is exhausting. Growing a human is exhausting. And then just trying to be and or find yourself is exhausting. It's
Yeah.
very tiring
Yeah.
business.
I feel like that's really important to talk about because I know my mom talks a lot about there was this group called like Mommies and Me when
Mm-hmm.
she was pregnant with me. So it was her first pregnancy as well.
Yeah.
And she said she was in, like, her and my dad lived in Texas with no family. So she was also feeling very isolated in that way as well. And
Yeah.
no Facebook, obviously, back then, but this group was almost like a Facebook group where these moms all were pregnant around the same time. And then, like, there's photos of me, like, as an infant with these other babies of these moms.
Yeah.
Having that community was really helpful for her to, like, because you do like the way you talked is like you're going through an identity shift. So
Yeah.
like if you don't have like a mommies and me or group something like that at all or yet, like what are you doing to help maintain what makes you you, but then also like work with the shift?
Yes. Yep. And I'm very fortunate in the fact that I made a friend. One of Chris's coworkers is 2 weeks more pregnant than I am. So we found out within a week or two of each other. So her and I have become friends, and that was really nice, especially just like right from the get go, like because he had told her that we were trying. And so when she found out, she told him immediately. And then, I got her Snapchat and like we talk. And then just recently, someone that I went to school with, but at different schools, like around the same time. Someone like an acquaintance that I have known for years, she is due 3 days before us. So it was like, oh, this is fun. Like it was really isolating in the beginning, especially when no one knew, because it's like, okay, I'm going through all these changes. And at this point, none of my friends really get it by no fault of their own. Just they either haven't gone through it or they have a kid and they're busy. And it's like you can talk to your moms, but like your moms did it 20 plus years ago. So it's definitely different and times are so different.
Oh,
Um, so it was just it's not easy. And I went back and forth on posting that video because I didn't want to post a video of me crying, making it look like I was looking for attention. I posted that because I've never seen that. And I felt like all these pregnancy videos I'm seeing are like, they're so happy, they're enjoying it. And like, I'm not enjoying this. Like, I'm grateful for this. Don't get me wrong, like, don't twist it. But it's not easy. And I know that I have issues going on, that not everyone has. But it's
that's
not,
also really important to talk about too, because I think probably a lot more women have issues in pregnancy than we
yeah,
even know because
yeah,
people only share like the happy sides of it. And I think you have such a following, and I think you don't have a responsibility to do anything, but you could look at it as in a way of like you have a responsibility to share the good and the bad because if you
yeah,
want, like you would have wanted to see that video if you hadn't have already made it yourself. Like you would have loved
yeah.
to relate to someone like that.
I just want to be transparent about it. And I also don't want to turn my platform into like, woe is me, like I
Oh,
hate being pregnant. And that's not even the I don't know if mantra is the right word for it, but it's just I don't know. It's not easy. And some people make it look really, really easy. And it's just if that's not the case for you, if you're having a really easy pregnancy, like congratulations. Like I'm genuinely so happy for you. But if you're not having an easy pregnancy, I'm also there for you, you
yeah.
know? I don't know, I just think it's important about social media can be such a highlight reel. And I think it's better to just be honest and open. I love Allison Cooch. Is that Cooch?
Yeah.
Um, she has been pretty like really transparent about postpartum, and I'm like, that's how I want to run with this. And so that's just how I'm going about it.
So I mean, wrap up's the wrong word because I feel like this is obviously going to be a discussion for the next 6 months and then for the rest of your life, literally. But I think to wrap up this episode, the thing you are most excited for and the thing you are most scared of.
Most excited for is just meeting them and like getting to be their mom and seeing Chris be their dad. And honestly getting back home.
Yeah.
Like, I want to stay in the hospital. I don't want to go home. And I can't wait to be home and like just be in our bubble.
Yep.
Thing I'm most nervous about, well, picking their name. That's a lot of pressure. We have 3 names, but we need to pick one. And honestly, setting boundaries with friends and family. That it doesn't necessarily make me nervous, but I know that it's going to cause. You know what? We're just going to be honest. It's going to cause issues because people aren't going to like it, but I'm going to do everything in my power to protect our child.
Yep. And I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier in the episode of like, if people don't like it, what are they going to do? Like this is
Right.
you get to decide. If people don't like it, they have to adapt because this is your
Yep.
child and this is your family. Like, if people didn't like what your parents did with you, they adapted. And now look, like, this is what happens. Like, and you
Yep.
know what? It's not even just what happens. This is what's supposed to happen. Like, you and Chris are supposed to take what you have and what you know and what you believe and use those skills and then do what you want with it. Whether that
Yep.
be exactly the same thing or do the exact opposite or take a little mix of both.
Absolutely.
Do you have a favorite of the week?
Yeah, it's got to be this little journal that I've neglected it because I've been either in so much pain or so sick. So the last time I updated it was 7 weeks, which was November 8th. And it's January. So we're going to have to update that probably today. But this little journal, because one day I will give it to them and they can see what it was like to be their mom. They were first, like, probably when they're 18 plus, but
Yeah. No, that's cool though. That's a really, really, you should do this. I've seen people will make an email account for their unborn child and like write to it
yeah.
once a week or whatever, and then like let the kid read it back and whatever age they turn. But I think that's so cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Ironically, my favorite of the week is also a journal, just because it's my 2024 journal. I already posted about it, but I feel like you need a journal that like excites you to
Yeah,
open it. And this one, I think I mean, it's hot pink, so it already like I see it and I'm like, oh my God, I want to write in this. But it's completely different from last year's, and I wanted that like full change. So yeah,
absolutely.
I'm excited for 2024 with everything that it's bringing. Obviously, it's going to be a huge year.
Absolutely. I'm very, very excited.
And I can't wait to meet the child.
The child.
I don't know what else to call it. So the child.
Well, it's also, we're walking on eggshells because Skye and I know the gender and we haven't announced that yet. So stay tuned for that. That is going to be a YouTube video because I did record Chris and I's reaction. It didn't go to plan, but you know what? We got some footage, so.
Real life.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I just can't wait to be able to share. Like, I think this will just be great as we keep going with the podcast and keep going with DLL as a whole. Like, I'm sure I feel like we'd be missing a whole demographic if
Yeah.
we don't take advantage of this experience and use the skill.
Oh, all the things we're gonna make. I want to start making, like, honestly, like a pregnancy. I think I would, seeing how this has gone with like the physical journal, like there's something so classic about this, so I will continue this. But this isn't going to get filled up in my pregnancy, so I'm going to write letters to them until this is full, and then whatever. But I think like a digital pregnancy journal would be really cool that you could upload like your bump pictures, which I haven't taken a single bump picture. I should probably start doing that. But yeah, just there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff, and like I was an educator. I was a teacher. So like all the sensory things, like we have a lot of cool stuff coming.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely.